Mine took a second as well.
Mine usually does take a little long.
Oh, sorry. Welcome, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. Apparently, I was not paying attention. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. I know behind me it may say that the next item is a new agenda item. We do not have a new agenda item, but we do want to make a couple switches to the agenda. We want to swap 5 and 6 so that we can have our spotlight a little earlier in the time and not keep those folks here quite as late. And we also have a couple board members that are going to have conflicts, and so don't anybody be alarmed if you see people leaving. We've got some other things going on tonight, so busy time. All that said, if I could ask you please to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So you all have received a copy of the agenda. I would like to recommend that we approve the agenda with the adjustments to swap items 5 and 6.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
All right, unanimous consent for that. And with that, we're going to go straight into some recognition.
Okay.
We've got a couple different exciting things that have happened.
Hello.
Y'all just coming on up, okay?
That's right.
I'm just going to give you an intro.
You're here.
For the public's benefit of those who may not know, this is the highlight of what we do. We're here for children. We don't make cars. We don't make cloth. We deliver education. So this is the end result of our product, of our toils. What we do though is recognize state and national winners. And so tonight we're pleased to have the Fort Mill High School girls swim team state champions, and we're going to recognize them and let Coach.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Cindy Van Buskirk, and I'm the head coach of this wonderful state champion girls swim team. My assistant coaches this year were Jenna Pahowski and Doug Fleck, and I would like to take this moment to read these names of these young ladies who did a phenomenal job on October 8th at the University of South Carolina Natatorium. My captains this year were Anna Kate Halligan, Lily McPherson, and Lillian Gutta. Wave or step forward, girls. On the team this year is Sophie Blackwell, Izzy Byerly, Josie Chandler, Reese Channel, Olivia Corby, Ava Corby, Bella Corby, Lily Druckenmiller, Lila Hadley, Caden Henson, Lily Lindgren, Haruka Ono, Mia Porgazelski, Bella Sorensen, and Selena Vu. These young ladies had a phenomenal day. They started with a gold medal in the 200 medley relay, which really set the stage. We had a gold medal relay in the 400 free relay, and Olivia Corby walked away with 4 gold medals total for that day in individual and relay events. I do want to highlight that, with my smile on my face, that 7 of these young ladies are middle schoolers. So, the future is very bright for these young ladies. They did a phenomenal job, came together on a really tough day. And I do want to tip my hat to the team that came in second. Local Girls Do Good. That was Nation Ford. Nice. Congratulations to Nation Ford. And I did want to let you know that they were phenomenal, wonderful, friendly rivals throughout the entire season, region meet, and they cheered each other on even at the state meet. But I do want to congratulate all 18 of my state champions. Congratulations, girls.
Let's just have the swim meet at the Fort Mill pool next year if we're that good.
Yeah, I know that.
NAFO and Fort Mill.
Yeah.
Okay, we're very proud also tonight to recognize two of our JRTC units. First from Fort Mill High, they'll come forward, Colonel Sprague, and they were named the Naval Honor School for 2022, and I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about what that is. Let's give them a round of applause.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Major Ratliff. I'm the senior Marine instructor at Fort Mill, and basically what to have this distinct honor is several categories that we are ranked against. We're in what's Region 2, which has approximately 58 schools in, and to qualify as such, you have to be in the top 20%. I don't know exactly where we fall in as far as that number goes. They only let number 1, and then if you're Naval Honor School, I can guarantee you we were easily within the top 10 of the schools in the region. But anyways, with that said, some of the things that you have to do, we're ranked on scholarship money awarded to our seniors, the students' participation in clubs, academics, the things that we have within ROTC, air rifle, drill, etc. All the things that they're involved in as far as that goes. Community service hours, which we have well in the neighborhood of 1,500 hours amongst 80 cadets, so quite an accomplishment there. Our competitions as well, and am I missing anything here? I think that's about it. So it's quite an accomplishment and quite a standing what we have to compete and do. And this, by the way, was the 3rd year in a row that we had that accomplishment. So we're quite proud of the youngsters and all that we do. We set them up for it. They carry it out and do a great job for us. And we're just happy to do it and honor the community on top of it as well.
Next, likewise, we have the JRTC unit from Nation Ford High School here tonight. Colonel McKay, I don't know if he's here. They're coming in.
Sergeant Major Logan.
Sergeant Major Logan. Got to get all my acronym, my names right.
Normally it's
Okay.
normally it's Colonel, but that's good.
Okay, so I'm not going to go over the same things that Major Ratliff already covered with you, what it takes to earn this. I will just say that I've had the honor of being in Nation Ford High School and being with the JRTC program now. I'm in my 8th year here. 3 years prior to that with another high school. And when I say my honor, that's what I really mean, because to work with these guys, these are the guys. This is a cadet-driven and cadet-led unit. These guys are the ones who make everything happen. These guys are the ones that earn these awards. These guys are the ones out there hitting the street, doing the community service, doing all the things we do, excelling in the things that we excel in. Pearl and I, we just sit back and we do Butter Street, and we guide them to go in this direction, and they take the ball and run with it. So honestly, I couldn't ask for a better job. Just keep me young and extremely proud of that. So thank you very much.
Bring this back. Some really impressive students in our district. Much drier than that. We've got approval of minutes from October 4th. You've all had a chance to review. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
I didn't see any.
And then also from October the 18th, any adjustments or corrections? All right, those will
Likewise.
both stand as approved. Do we have any public participation? Okay, well then we are going to go straight into our school spotlight with Pleasant Knoll Elementary.
Good evening. We are excited to continue our school spotlight series, and we've been talking a lot about collaboration and teachers working together, and we have another great example of that this evening. So I'll introduce Mr. Allen, the principal.
Thanks for having us this evening. I know this is a lot of people. I promise this is a very short presentation, so don't worry. So I'll just say a couple of things. I'm turning it over to them. I learned a lot about organizational leadership from my dad, and there are two things that stick with me. One is he always told me the little things you do in an organization matter more than the big flashy things. About doing little things well. So that's kind of what our presentation is about. And he also told me that the way to be successful is to surround yourself with good people, support them and give them the resources, and get out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to turn it over to our teachers.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Bailey, and I'm the lead teacher at Pleasant Knoll Elementary, and I'm going to speak about collective leadership. Collective leadership is foundational to the culture of Pleasant Knoll Elementary School. It is not a thing that we do, but is instead a model for how we do the things in our school. Collective leadership is an initiative in the State Department that we joined in the 2019-2020 school year, thus providing us with 3 years of professional learning opportunities and networking with other schools in our cohort. The key outcomes of collective leadership are student learning growth through data-responsive practices, increases in teacher leadership, and retention. We have often reflected that we joined this initiative at exactly the right moment in the 2019-2020 school year. Through collective leadership and those challenges that we faced, we not only survived, but we thrived as a school during that time. Collective leadership is about ensuring that the ones closest to the work and closest to student learning are leading that work. Teachers don't just have a seat at the table at Pleasant Knoll, but they are helping to set the table. Through shared responsibility, decision-making, our teams are moving forward, our students and our school, toward continuous improved outcomes.
Good evening. My name is Allison Cash. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Pleasant Knoll. So Ms. Bailey kind of talked about what collective leadership is, and I would like to highlight some ways that we use collective leadership in our school. So you can see here a list where collective leadership has influence on our school. A recent example that we have is when we had a district-wide initiative, CI3T. During this process, our school was tasked with creating a positive behavior system. We started this process by surveying our staff and finding trends. Then our administration put together a rollout committee. This committee consisted of upper grade teachers, lower grade teachers, related arts teachers, a guidance counselor, a SPED teacher, a school psychologist, and some administrators. This committee together, they planned every detail of our implementation. They thought about how we wanted to teach this to the students, how we wanted banners to look around our school for students to see, a ticketing system where the kids could be rewarded for positive behavior, and incentives that the students could work for with this positive behavior system. I feel that this was the result of everyone working together, and I think that this led to consistency throughout our school. Across our school, teachers didn't feel so overwhelmed, and it went smoothly, allowing for teachers to have buy-in through the process. So another thing that we have done, 2 years ago, we moved from grade level chairs to a liaison system. So at the start of each school year, teachers pick 2 groups that they feel comfortable in serving in. So for example, I'm a 5th grade teacher. My name is Cash, so you can see that I serve in both the ELA and the PLC liaison group. This really helps when problems arise. So recently, we've noticed that our lunchroom is really noisy. So we took this to our operations group, and our operations group came up with solutions that we could work toward and some things that we could try just kind of to fix the problem and figure out some different things that work at our school. It also helps when we're growing initiatives. So for example, the PLC group met together and figured out expectations that were consistent throughout our school. It also helps with consistency. As you can see, there's 1 or 2 grade teachers from each grade level on the team. So when something is happening, every grade level is represented and the same information goes back to each grade level. In my opinion, teachers feel empowered and they're able to lead in an area that they feel comfortable in with this leadership style.
My picture didn't make it into the slide, so I was waiting for that to pop up. My name's Christine Hedrick. I'm a 3rd grade teacher at Pleasant Knoll, and I'm going to talk to you about our Go Time. Go Time stands for Growth Opportunity, and it is mandatory across the grade levels every single day. So you can see that from 30 to 40 minutes each day, teachers have this time worked into their schedule. During this time, it is all hands on deck. So what that means is we have an additional person come into the classroom. It could be an administrator, a coach. We have someone in the office who used to be a resource teacher who stepped into a technology role. She comes in and works with students as well. So what we do is we co-teach, we collaborate, we assess the students together, we determine their needs together, and then we go from there. During this time, our Tier 3 intervention students are pulled out so that they're not missing regular classroom instruction. So they're working on their goals to hopefully prevent them from moving into a testing situation, an IEP situation. Tier 2 intervention goals are also addressed during this time. As a classroom teacher, that's our responsibility. And so we can meet one-on-one to work on an individual student's goals, or we can meet in small groups if they have common goals. Also during this time, students with IEPs are pulled, so they're working, again, as I said, on their goals as listed in the IEP. Okay. Another thing that's not listed on our slide that I think is very important to know is we're not only addressing students with needs, we're addressing students who need that enrichment. It's not just remediation time. When we look at our data, it's our GT students who make the smallest amount of growth, but during this time, we can meet with those students. Our GT students stay within our homerooms with us. So when we talk about collaboration, I'm talking to those GT teachers, I'm looking at those students' data, that data for those students, and we are addressing those needs and expanding their knowledge. As teachers, the benefits of this are definitely collaboration. We normally, if you knew that your boss was going to come in and stay with you for 30 to 40 minutes, you're kind of probably a nervous wreck. You feel like you're going to be judged. You feel like you're inferior. And having admin and coaches come in on a daily basis breaks that down. You really get to know them as people. You feel they get to know you. You are learn from each other, and it just benefits your students so greatly. And having us work together like that, our students see it. They see the principal coming in and working with us. They see the coaches coming in. And so we're setting an example of how to collaborate with other people. It also helps them develop relationships with these administrators and office people and coaches who they may pass in the hallway. Well, now they know who they are. They develop that relationship with them. The students themselves are collaborating. Their groups are always flexible, whether it's during their IEP groups, their Tier 3 groups, or within the classrooms. They're working on different goals. Their groups are constantly changing. So they're learning to get along with children in different groups. Overall, our Go Time is just a great way to build relationships and work together. And as I was planning for this, I'm not a country fan, but a song came into my head, and it was, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a complete blank all of a sudden.
You'll think of
I can't think of it. I know, and I didn't write it down. But it was how, everybody knows everybody. Everybody calls you friend. So kick off your boots and come on in, and everybody works together. Like, that's what this is. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody calls you friend. So, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Arisha Knight, and I'm one of the school counselors at Pleasant Knoll. One way that we invite the community in our school is through our PKES, Pleasant Knoll Elementary, Watchdogs program. And as you can see on the slide, DOG stands for Dads of Great Students. So with this program, it is a father involvement program. So dads and father figures get to volunteer for a day, or at least a day at a time, because they can come back if they would like to. But they get to volunteer, do different activities to interact with the kids and the students. There's 2 goals that we usually meet when it comes to having this type of program. One, positive male role models. Oftentimes, we often see women in the schools. You may not see a man as much, but when the men are there, they have a presence about them. And so when the kids see these watchdogs come in, it's like, man, school is important. This really means something because they took a day off of their jobs to come in and come work with me and come have fun with me and see what I'm doing. A second goal is just an extra set of eyes and ears and hands, which when you have that, of course, you have more of a safe learning environment. So when they come in, they have at least 4 allotted blocks of 40-minute periods where they get to go into a classroom. They're guaranteed to have at least 1 block of time with their child, or because father figures can come, whichever student that they know, they're able to come in and sit with that child. They're also able to have lunch and have recess with that student, but they also get to interact with everyone else. And so that's the fun part too. They get to do different things as listed, such as read alouds, small group discussions. They get to help with car line duty in the morning and in the afternoon. They get to do walk and talks. They get to be referees at recess and just participate in all the fun things. And it's just another way to have an adult in the building and it not feel intimidating for the kid, but it's like, man, they really want to get to know me. So with this program, we initially started in 2020 before the shutdown, and we got through quite a few, and it was highly requested once we weren't able to do it because of protocols, but it was highly requested, and I feel like the reason it was because it's a win-win. It's a win-win for the students because, again, they get to have somebody to come in and just make them feel important. They also get to just come in and have somebody just listen to them and just get to see how they learn. It's a win-win for the school because it builds a bridge with home and school. And then it's a win-win for the fathers and the father-like figures because you get to be a hero for the day. And who doesn't want to be a hero for the day? So that's something fun too. Because of all that, and you see the highlights on the screen, those are things that some of the fathers said that was actually the highlight of their day with coming to the school. The hugs, the high fives, getting to know the students, actually working with students and seeing their confidence build because they were working with them. So it's kind of, as a counselor, I would say it's a bucket filler for everybody. And so I would say, why not have that program? So that's one way we have the community in our school.
How do you recruit them?
We have a launch night where we actually talk about the program, the things that they could possibly do, what we would want them to do, the process that's involved, and then they get to sign up and do an interest form. And with the interest form, then they have to go through, obviously, the steps for safety as far as background checks and things like that. And then once we have that, then they get to sign up for their day, and then we create a schedule, and then they come in, they get an orientation and everything, and we go from there.
Hi, my name is Miranda Young. I'm the art teacher at Pleasant Knoll Elementary. And one of the first things we were able to do to celebrate lifting of protocols and bring our community back in was our community picnic last spring. It was hugely successful. We had a large turnout with lots of food trucks, and we see some blow-up equipment. The kids had a great time. As the art teacher, I was manning the face painting booth, and that was a lot of fun. We had some high school volunteers, but it was just a great time to remember that we all are a big family, see all the smiling faces again, and I know we have more plans for similar activities this year, and we're looking forward to more community events.
Let me get my notes. They're on my phone. So I'm Emily Jones, and I am the librarian at Pleasant Knoll. We also had in early October family night, and Guidance used this night as the end of our Red Ribbon Week. They invited community members to come out. The fire department was there. And then there were some other businesses from the community that were there as well. We also had the book fair during this time, so parents were able to go into the library, shop the book fair. I know at one point we were having to like watch the door and let one person in as one person came out. And then teachers had work displayed from their students that parents were able to see what their child's been learning in their classroom throughout the year. And then Related Arts had in different activities from their specialty. I know PE had fitness activities in the gym, art. I worked with Ms. Young on the button making machine, which was the hit of the night, it seemed like. And so we had a huge turnout, and everybody seemed to enjoy it.
Hello, I'm Becky Ackerman, and I'm a technology teacher at Pleasant Knoll. And wellness for teachers is huge right now. We know that. And so our wellness committee created 2 opportunities for teachers to just kind of have that mental break, build community amongst each other, get to know each other through some workouts. So we have 2 programs after school, twice a week. Our amazing PE teachers lead a little cardio, weight circuits, a variety of things. They were doing it this afternoon. And we also have a step challenge. Some people get really competitive with that. And I'm not joking. It has made everybody stay moving. And it's, it's less about that and more just about mental clarity and wellness and feeling better and encouraging one another. And honestly, I got to chit chat with teachers that I really didn't know because we just don't cross paths as much. But the idea is that you're supposed to be encouraging and making sure, don't forget, keep your steps going. We have weekly winners, and the community actually has contributed in the PTO to some little small prizes just so that, any prize will encourage a teacher to get those steps in. So we had 50 participants and 10 teams, and we're still doing it. So we're still, and I don't have my watch on, and it just broke. I looked down and thought, oh, I haven't gotten my steps for today. But anyway, so glad I'm not on your team. But yeah, so, but that's just one of the committees. I know someone earlier talked about different committees, but we have a variety, and Wellness Committee is one of them, so.
Hi, I'm Ashley Pease. I'm the other technology teacher. And I just wanted to share with you some of the other programs and clubs that we brought back post-COVID that we're really excited about. We have Safety Patrol for 4th and 5th grade. They help with arrival and dismissal. And then breakfast helpers who deliver the meals in the morning. We have student liaisons for 3rd through 5th grade, so they get to meet with admin frequently, talk about school programs, and provide feedback from the student's point of view. We have Panther Players, which our amazing music teacher meets with in the mornings, and they learn to play percussion instruments, and then they give us little concerts for the students and staff. We have recycling helpers that totally run our recycling program, and the PKNN news crew. So during the week, those kids get to learn about digital tools and video editing and collaboration, and we try to do a cultural observance each week, so that kind of helps us to reach all of our students. So you can see we got lots of opportunities for student involvement and leadership, and these are just some of the things that we're doing to put our best paw forward.
And that's pretty much it, just a bunch of little things that we do and a lot of things we brought back post-COVID that, like the Watchdogs parent, I mean, that was the most asked thing I got asked about every week. And then, too, our book fair this time, over $25,000 in sales. We broke a record for our PTO. So it was nice to see people back in the spring and then also carrying that over into the fall. So unless there are any questions, that's all for us. Thank you.
I'll make a couple comments.
Oh, all right.
So, wow. So we've had Orchard Park was first, correct? Then we had maybe yeah, and then Springfield Elementary, right? And then this one, and they keep getting better. This is, Dr. Epps, I got to tell you, I look forward to this, and I can be good with just leaving the school board meeting, to be very frank with you.
Well, it was
This
your
is,
idea.
I think the framework that's being used for this is phenomenal. Every school is different in their methodology of how they're delivering information. And I'm just appreciative that we're getting to see a peek under the hood.
Well,
Fantastic.
and I was going to add, they are unique. I wasn't sure if it was the third or the fourth, but it was a clever idea because two things. One, we're live streaming, so hopefully the community gets to see it as well. But I know a lot of our principals are out there, and so they get to see what the other schools are doing, and it triggers ideas. And because each school is unique, but there may be some best practices here that would apply somewhere else. So I think it's great.
Fantastic.
I'd like to say I got to go to the community picnic and
But
see
yes, I
as
went with
well,
you.
and it was phenomenal. I mean, you could feel the energy, and there was a ton of people.
Like, if you stand there and you're like, wow, this many people are on our campus, it makes you nervous, but also it makes you happy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our schools are big, right? Even the elementary schools with 1,000 kids or close to 1,000 kids is a lot, and so that's those things are important to make it still feel like a family.
You know, it used to be, you would look at, parents would move here and they'd look at test scores only. And I remember we've got some schools that typically rank higher than others, but they're all good. And I would say it doesn't matter where you go to school in Fort Mill, they're all good academically, and they are. And I sincerely mean that. But each school is unique, as many of you have said. And that's really, that is the value of doing this. I didn't anticipate that, but letting the public know and see the little nuances that are, you know, the daddy program is, I'm sure they all don't do that, but I'm sure they do something similar. So that's the beauty, I think, of having good, strong leaders in our schools, good, strong teachers who are creative, and you don't want it to look like a rote box. You want some differences, and we've got different demographics at each school, and so it should reflect some differences. So I'm just say that's one of the good parts of hearing one of the advantages of hearing this.
Yep. Congratulations.
Fantastic.
I love
All right, all the fun stuff is over. We've got
all the
real
fun
business
stuff's
now.
over. It was so fun.
Our next item, we've got a couple staff reports, starting with monthly financials. Ms. Lordo.
It's her fun.
What? You mean
I was
finance
going to
isn't
say,
fun?
I hate to have to follow that. Gosh. But tonight we are presenting our monthly financials for September 30th, the third month of the fiscal year, 1 quarter down, 3 to go. For September 30th, total revenues were $26,892,000. Total expenditures, $37,897,000. So as expected, we're using fund balance for cash flow, about $11 million. You know, I like to report on vehicle tax collections. Once again, had a very large month. For September, vehicle tax collections were $1,451,000. So this may be our new normal now.
Well, and I will say, having those kind of numbers has created a problem on the back end. My household experienced that, we didn't get our sticker for our plates timely, almost 3 weeks after they were expired. And that was one that was sent in on the 1st of the month.
Because the county was in a backlog?
They were so backlogged.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've seen that happening.
Very interesting. Good point, though. So everyone needs to really
Send in
mail,
early, not late.
send in early. In my review of the financials, one thing that I wanted to share, because I thought many of you may have seen this and noticed how significant our interest income was. Yes. Year to date is $241,463, and our budget, based on last year's, only $145,000.
Just figured you sandbagged.
We've already significantly exceeded the budget. And interestingly enough, I also received the October South Carolina LGIP, which is the Local Government Investment Pool, their newsletter, and they highlighted the increase in rates. Treasurer Loftus said it's been an interesting quarter to say the least. However, the Fed's continued rate hikes are boosting yields for LGIP. And just for the benefit of everyone, LGIP, or the Local Government Investment Pool, is an investment mechanism administered by the South Carolina State Treasurer to provide local governments an opportunity to acquire maximum returns by pooling their funds. And I thought it was interesting, the total pool balance in the state that was invested as of September 30th was $9 billion. $9.1 billion collectively.
73 school districts participate in the local government investment pool and have their funds on deposit there, along with the counties and municipalities. But just to give you an idea, January 31st of 2022, when we started this calendar year, the ELJA interest rate was 0.15%, so 0.15. As of the end of September, it's now up to 2.62%. So you can see that has been a significant increase in the market, and as a result, we have benefited from the increase in interest income. So we will see what happens going forward. But that is why our interest earnings are higher in a very favorable way.
When everybody else's are
Yes.
so far down.
The other thing I want to mention, just if you review the financials and you look at several of the reports, specifically the monthly budget to monthly actual, a lot of our contracts are paid at the beginning of the school year. We don't always pay our expenditures 1/12, so many of our contracts come due. So you may see some areas where our monthly actuals were over, a good bit over our monthly budget, and that's one of the reasons why, is because a lot of the payment of the contracts beginning of the school year. So I wanted to bring up those 2 points, and I have a couple other things, but I'll open it up for your questions on the monthlies financials.
I have a couple questions.
Okay?
So back to the intergovernmental revenue. For acute clarity, that is a reflection of the new funding formula.
Correct. That is the new funding formula is the new education model is in two pieces. One is 71 million, that's our state aid to classrooms. The second piece is this transfer from EIA funds. So it's two pieces, and it comes in 1/12 until we get to the 45-day adjustment, which we are hopeful still that we will see an increase, and then we will see a final adjustment at the 135th day. So we can't, for this school year, this fiscal year, it's really not comparable to look at the current year intergovernmental to the prior year. We will have to wait till we start next fiscal year in July, and then we can start comparing. Those numbers would be a lot more comparable.
Next question. Act 388, property tax relief. I see 000s, and we're in, this is reflecting end of September 30th.
Correct. So this is the line item coming from the state that is supposed to equate to the difference in what we would collect on 4% homes for property taxes and what the state's sending. Those payments do not start until October each year, and we receive those payments over 10 payments, but they don't start till October. So we should see that come in next month on the report. But thank you for that question. And just of interest, as I was thinking about this, the current difference, the current deficit in what we would be collecting if we all were paying school operations millage on our home, the current annual difference is $43.1 million. Wow. So $43 million for just 1 year.
Or said another way, how much lower our taxes could be.
Absolutely.
If we had that coming in.
Absolutely. And it has increased from roughly 10 years ago, it was about a $6 million deficit, and now we're up to $43 million.
Incredible. Well,
Or about 300 million since Act 388 went in?
Slightly getting close to 300 million. Getting close. Yes. Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Wayne?
Could you explain the difference between local taxes and county-wide taxes?
Sure. So the county-wide taxes, that is by the South Carolina law. It's a local piece of legislation. 30 mills are assessed on property in York County, and the 30 mills is divided among the 4 school districts, and it is based on the final 135-day average daily membership. But York School District gets 1 mill off the top because they have the highest poverty level, and then the remaining 29 mills are split based on that formula to the 4 districts. And that's the piece that goes into the countywide taxes.
I ask because the budget shows 0 expectation.
Because we adjust it at the end of the year, we reallocate. We look at total tax collections for the budget purposes. When I project out the budget at $69.2 million, I'm looking at local and countywide together. And we run at one line item for the year, but it does include, that's a great point, but it does include countywide. But when we get to in the audit report, when it gets presented, you'll see that we have pulled out the countywide portion separately.
And as I recall, last year, or maybe the year before, we started seeing some benefit there above what we expected because we found that our share was growing, obviously, because our share of the total students in York County is higher than it used to be.
Correct, because now we are the largest school district. We start receiving allocations based on last year's percentage, and then it will be adjusted on this year's 135th day numbers. But the county sends it to us first based on last year's, but then they do, through their final reconciliation, we are made whole to what our current percentage is on countywide. But interestingly enough, the 30 mills, and there's been some discussion about this, it's never been adjusted for inflation. It has not increased. It has remained 30 mills for a long, long time.
Other questions?
Other financial? Okay, just two impact fees. I'm going to mention we have now exceeded $54 million in collections. $54,122,456 as of close of business yesterday. Single-family units, 2,022. Multifamily apartments, 1,449. So we've collected a total of 3,471 units. September, we had 15 homes and 22 apartments, so it was steady. We're still in the phase with 12-month comparable data. Single family, we're still 33% less, still recovering from the slowdown from COVID. Apartments, we're 99% more because of the one big day that we had in February of last year. Our October actual collections in total were $536,000. The average last year was $800,000. So October was a little bit, October, September were a little bit lower, but it's very up and down. It's very up and down. As far as where we are with York County, I'll just report that last week we attended a special call meeting. The Planning Commission approved our amendment to the plan. We are now on the calendar to go before County Council for 3 readings, hopefully complete this process by the end of the year, and then be able to actually start spending these funds. So we're anxiously waiting the end of that process. Property taxes, as we all know, were mailed. We all got those. Hopefully we'll start seeing some revenue coming in on next month's report for the property tax notices. And the financial audit, Green Finney has finished the field work. Our audit report is in draft form. We're actually having our exit conference tomorrow. So we are on target to submit our report by December 1st to the State Department as required by state law. And then the last thing I just want to report on, I think I mentioned, on October 20th, we had our annual PTA Booster Club training. David Phillips, who's a partner with Green Finney, he did the training. We had about 40 people participate. And afterwards, David sent me a lot of documents that several of those parents had asked for information on. And we sent that out to all. I had about 115 people on the email distribution that received all of that information as far as registration information with the state, how long should they keep documents, those type of things. So hopefully it was very helpful to those parents who were on the call or that also received the information.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they were appreciative of it, and I think just across the board, the quality of people that we have in these roles as leaders, whether it's president, treasurer, vice president, whoever attended the session, I think they're very dedicated to making sure that the boosters and PTAs and PTOs are following the rules and learning from each other on some best practices.
I agree. We had some great questions,
They
good
appreciate
discussion.
being able to get together like
yes.
this and get this kind of training.
Yes, good, good.
Since you mentioned property taxes and that
Yes.
coming out recently, I just want to reiterate a point, and you may need to help me with it, but about the property taxes and the fact that we're still at 72 mills, which if I'm not mistaken is exactly the same as last year, so it's flat from last year.
For debt.
For debt.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. We did not need to increase the debt millage.
And that's down, 46 or 50 mills from what we had projected it would have been without the impact.
What was going to be 129?
129.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Significantly lower than where we could have been through several means went into that over those years, refinancing debt at every opportunity to save on interest. We've also seen benefit from our continued increase in assessed values. And then you as a board approved a few transfers where we had earned some interest that we could put towards debt repayment. So all of those things combined enabled us to keep that debt millage at 72 for this year.
Which is down 57 from where we had projected.
Correct.
129.
Yep.
Correct.
Huge.
And my personal tax bill went down a whole $7.
Mine only went down $1.
Mine went down 7. I was like, woo. Lunch, breakfast.
Any other questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is an update on mental health. I'm not sure who's going to facilitate for us. Okay.
Come on up.
I know we talked, 2-3 meetings ago, we got a safety update, and we were talking about how mental health kind of dovetails with safety, and was the genesis of asking you guys to come talk to us about what's going on in the schools.
Perfect. We're happy to be here. So I'm Rachel Showmate. I'm the coordinator of Student Health Services. I'm going to give you a little overview.
I'm Kelly Dusek. I'm the lead mental health counselor.
So Fort Mill Schools began hiring district-employed clinicians in 2012. At this point, each school has its own clinician to meet the needs of that school. We have lots of different programs that we offer. Students can receive services through our RBHS program, which is a Rehabilitative Behavioral Health Services program. That is statewide, so that is not unique to Fort Mill. We can also serve students through their individualized education plans or their IEPs, through their 504 accommodation plans, or through short-term intervention services and through our MTSS process. We also contract with agencies outside of Fort Mill, including Thrive Family Services. They can provide individual or family counseling at school, and also with Kindermorn. And Kindermorn is a group, if you're not aware, they're outside of Charlotte, and they support all grieving students and families. A little bit about the growth of the program. So we started in 2012 with 2 clinicians. I am one of those original clinicians, so I've been around a little while. Due to the growth and in part to you all and your support, we have now grown to include 18 clinicians in this district. That is pretty unprecedented. Even if you look at the 4 districts within York County, we are well up there supporting our students. All of our clinicians are master levels, and 12 of those are independently licensed in South Carolina. So why do we need mental health in schools? Lots of data suggests that school mental health services reach children in the typical, everyday environment. That natural, non-stigmatizing location offers early and effective intervention for those students. Mental health treatment has large effects on decreasing those mental health symptoms, and mental health services are most effective when they're integrated into the student's academic instruction.
And to give you guys a little data to piggyback on Rachel, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, there's advocates. They collect data on mental illness in the nation. So this left column here is kind of our age students from 12 to 17. In 2020, we know that was a unique year. That is when COVID rolled out. Kind of unprecedented challenges for families and school districts. I don't think anyone in here could have ever predicted we would move to a virtual model. That would have been unheard of years ago. But we do know that students suffered some impact from the COVID years. Social isolation, just challenges of virtual learning. By nature, families were disrupted, job losses, a lot of stressors placed on families. So NAMI did collect some data about how it did impact youth. So students aged 12 to 17, 1 in 6 experienced a major depressive episode. 3 million students nationwide had serious thoughts of suicide. 31% increase in mental health related emergency room visits. So families going in an emergency situation trying to seek support. 1 in 5 young people report that the pandemic had a significant negative impact on their mental health. 18% of adolescents, which is that 12 to 17 range. 23% of young adults, which is 18 to 25. Nearly half of young people with mental health concerns, so already had a diagnosed mental health issue, reported a significant impact of COVID-19. And 1 in 10 people under the age of 18 experience a mental health condition following a COVID-19 diagnosis. There's ongoing research, on that and how COVID could impact mental health just from a physical standpoint. There's also data showing that many increasingly used alcohol or drugs to cope with or self-medicate issues that they were facing. So 15% of adolescents reported increased use of alcohol among those who drink, and that's our age group again, 12 to 17. Of young adults, 18% reported an increase of drug use among those of 12 to 17 years old went up 15%, and 19% among young adults in that 18 to 25 age bracket.
And these are national numbers, not local numbers?
Yes, these are national, collected by NAMI.
Which NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, in case anyone doesn't know.
So to speak on the importance of mental health being provided in a school setting, youth are 6 times more likely to complete mental health treatment in a school setting than versus a community setting where a parent is having to take them after school hours to a mental health provider that's in the community. After Katrina, the JCOC study did try to do a randomized study to show some data on that. So they assigned 118 youth to randomly be seen in the community setting or the school setting. So it was about even, 60-58 split. Of those 118 students that were referred for services, we can see in the graph up here, 57 of them in the school setting actually started services, received services, and then 53 of those actually completed services, compared to the community group. Out of the 58 that were referred, only 14 students actually started services, and only 9 completed a course of treatment. So out of those 118 students, 53 in the school setting completed versus 9 in the community setting, which is a huge difference. Kind of highlights the importance of offering that in the school setting. So in thinking about why that number was so great of a difference, we know improved access for families is crucial. So we know families are busy, parents are working, they have to provide for their families, they have to work. It is sometimes difficult to get off of work early, find a provider in the community. If you're not aware, if you've not looked, seek services for yourself, the community supports are backed up at this point. The wait lists are long. Families find it difficult to navigate that system. It's frustrating when you're trying to seek support for yourself or your child and you're told it could be 3 to 6 month wait period. So improved access in the school setting is crucial. Also improved early identification and intervention. So our schools have the MTSS programs, CI3T, where they, of course, are looking at academic needs, but we're also looking at social emotional needs and trying to catch those students that could benefit from supports early on. And then we know that addressing mental health needs, that's going to reduce barriers to learning. So if you are sitting in a classroom and you're experiencing an anxiety-related disorder, you're not able to function well, You're worried about things going on, and maybe you're not focused on the math instruction that day. You're going to miss some stuff. So we know that by reducing barriers to learning, by offering mental health support, that our achievement outcomes that we all value, we want our test scores to be high, by default, giving mental health support will help improve those. And then just some unique numbers related to COVID-19. As again, this is a national poll of mental health challenges experienced in the past month when random samples were taken of students. They, across the board, 23% of those students said social isolation or loneliness was a result of COVID-19. 22% had increased anxiety. 20% had trouble concentrating. 18% had difficulty handling their emotions. 12% experienced depression. 12% had difficulty coping with stress in a healthy way. So those may be the alcohol, drug use, acting out behaviors. I talk with my hands. Sorry, a little too close to the microphone. Ages 2 to 18, 7% said they lacked some type of family stability or support at home. 7% experienced harassment or bullying. 6% experienced self-harm. 6% substance use issues. 5% suicidal thoughts, and then of course 40% of those polled said they didn't have any of those experiences in the past month. And a lot of this data comes from the South Carolina School Behavioral Health Academy. So there is an initiative in South Carolina. It's a partnership between Department of Health and Human Services, the University of South Carolina, and the Department of Education, where they are trying to spread awareness of mental health and how important it is. So they, Department of Mental Health has dedicated some funding to that effort, and they are working with the University of South Carolina to roll out webinars for anybody in the school setting, so school boards, principals, bus drivers, our teachers, where they can watch a webinar. It talks about mental health in our area, how mental health impacts students that might be sitting in their classrooms, on their school buses, in the cafeteria. They even mentioned like cafeteria workers have access to that. So there's going to be a base level that anybody that's interested in school-based mental health and how mental health impacts students can take those. And then there's going to be more specific for staff that work in schools. So there'll be a course for administrators on mental health services. There'll be a course for teachers, specifically what that looks like in the classroom. There'll be a course focused for us as mental health providers. So that is a South Carolina initiative that is currently in the works. I think if anybody's interested, you can Google South Carolina School Behavioral Health Academy. They have their first course up and running, and that is the general course for everybody.
I don't want to derail your presentation, but I think this is a good point to bring out a question that I had going into it that you actually touched on just a little bit. There's another term, acronym that we use in the education world that has developed a negative connotation for some reason. I don't know, and been skewed. And I want to see, how does SEL relate to this? And what we're talking about when we provide SEL, social emotional learning in the schools.
Absolutely. So social emotional learning through our tiered systems of support. Hopefully at that tier 1 level, we're general education, curriculum. Everybody is getting information on that we all have feelings. Feelings are valid. Feelings are okay. We all experience them. There's no good or bad feelings. And it's okay to ask for help when you need help. And here's some things you can do when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling anxious. So delivering that at the tier 1 level. Tier 2 level are those students identified they're starting to struggle. We want to provide those supports maybe with our school counselors, with the teacher doing some extra things to support that student in the classroom. And then us as clinicians, we live at the top of that, tier 3, where students that need more intensive supports at the clinical level, we would step in and provide those supports. So SEL, we know is important. The data shows that it affects academics. So we want to make sure that we are addressing social emotional learning.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want questions now, or you want to get through before we jump in?
Oh, we're easy.
It's up to y'all.
Works, yeah.
Because that piggybacks, you talked about identifying students that need varying levels of support. And I know MTSS is obviously a key one at the elementary level. But when I think about middle school and high school, whether it's bullying or fights that occur, things like that. What is the process for identifying where there's student challenges that perhaps could benefit from some level of intervention, counseling, discussion?
Sure. I think our mental health teams, our school counselors, we work together really well. Since we are providing support at that higher level, we're not going to know all the students in the school building. Our school counselors and our administrators do. So when a student is identified as something they've gotten multiple fights or a pretty big fight, their behavioral issues happening, we get a lot of referrals from principals who say, hey, this is going on with this student. Do you think they're appropriate for services? Can we look at serving them? Our school counselors will come talk to us. Sometimes students at the older level, middle and high school, they will self-refer. So they will come in and ask for help, ask for supports. And then we do have parents that reach out directly to their counselors, to the administrator, say, hey, this is going on. What do you have that could possibly help my student? So really, we get referrals from everywhere.
Doctor's offices, there's no limit there.
Because I worry sometimes about the lesser issues. So not, fortunately, not the suicidal thoughts or the things, but just, I know our student population places a great deal of stress on themselves, right? We have a highly driven, high-performing, high expectation kind of crowd. And so that can be an overdone strength, right? That tips a point where it's an unhealthy level. And I was just curious how those types of challenges also get addressed.
Sure. And we have our, every school has an SEL team through the CI3T process at the elementary level that is expanding up to middle and high at some point. So really our teachers are our most important kind of eyes on the ground. They are going to be the ones to notice that. So a student that may be a straight A student that is struggling with some anxiety because they put a lot of pressure on themselves to perform, those teachers are the ones that are going to see those things first. And then at the elementary level, those issues are being talked about frequently. So teams are meeting, teachers are coming to the table with the support staff. So school counselors are there, administrators are there, lead teachers are there, and they're opening the floor up to say, what's going on in your classroom? Do you notice anyone that needs support? And that's the importance of that CI3T process, because it gives teachers that opportunity to bring concerns to the table and to staff it as a team where you do have people in those schools that can provide some feedback on how we can support that student.
Perfect. I got a couple questions. Sure. So this is going back to that nationwide info, the 2020 mental health by the numbers. Are we seeing the same trend in our district?
Yes, we are. Yeah, so we're no different. We, since 2020, have seen an increase in referrals, as well as some identified risk situations. The hope is that we are identifying these students and getting them the supports that they need, and that's the positive piece of that. Definitely throughout the years, also with staffing, to go from 2 to 18, we're here for a reason. So we're here to address the needs of any student and try to get them that intervention support. Earlier is always better.
Perfect. Second question, when student is referred for mental health services in schools, in school, how receptive are parents to receiving that support?
I think overwhelmingly it is seen as something that is a support to that parent and that student. Our families want their children to get help. They want them to succeed. So overwhelmingly, it is seen as a positive thing that their student is able to access support at school.
Thank you. It's good stuff. I'm appreciative of this.
You got a few more. Keep going.
Yeah.
Or you just want us to quit. Quit while we're ahead. Are we good?
Can I ask you to get closer to the microphone just
Yeah,
because I know where people
absolutely.
are gonna
Okay.
couldn't hear you on the
So just to go over some prevention efforts that we have, all of our clinicians are fully trained in suicide prevention, self-injury prevention, as well as behavioral threat assessment management. The suicide prevention and the behavioral threat assessment both come out of the state, so those are statewide protocols that we utilize. The self-injury has been floating around for a long time. I was part of that, but it works very well. And then for those that don't know, we have a tip line in case there's ever any concern from a parent, a student, anyone they can fill that out. That will usually roll through us or through an administrator that will get us involved. Sorry, she took the clicker. I was like, where is it? Crisis response as well, just to briefly touch on this. We utilize the Prepare crisis model. It is the only comprehensive model that is nationally available, developed by educators for educators. So that curriculum is based on a couple of different things. The assumption that school crisis management is relatively unique and requires its own model, and by virtue their professional training and job functions, school-employed mental health professionals are best prepared to address those mental health issues associated with school crises. So all of our mental health clinicians are certified in the Prepare model and serve on our district crisis teams. And then lastly, so how do you access, and you guys, we've touched on this a little bit, you guys asked. The first step really would go through your student school counselor, and they would generally come contact us, kind of staff, figure out really what that child needs and how we're going to get there. And then just some additional resources can be found on our district website. Up at the top, you're going to go to departments, student health services, and then under behavioral mental health services as well.
I want to go back just a couple slides. One other thing. You mentioned like the tip line and things. I believe it's still in place that we also have some technology monitoring on student accounts where if there were something that were being shared in one of the student accounts that, I couldn't think of the name of the tool, that would also alert to a concern.
Yes, that's called Gaggle. Usually that will roll down as well. Administrators or APs collect those initially. They get those at first calls. And then if there's a concern, they would come down and we would get involved at that point if needed.
Obviously, that's on a student school account, not on personal accounts.
Correct.
But hopefully the knowledge of the tip line for when students, parents, community members see things on personal accounts, social media, that would be concerning, those would be the ideal things to send through the tip line or to the administrators to get folks involved.
Honestly, people contact me directly, frankly. I've been around long enough that, they feel like it'll be followed up on, and it is. So totally comfortable to continue collecting that information.
Excellent. Fantastic. Other questions?
No.
Well, thank you for the presentation, but also thank you and all 18 of you for what you do on behalf of our students. And it's unfortunate that we need 18, but we're in it's the times we live in.
I think it's also instead of looking at it as unfortunate, like we are so blessed to have this support and to have your all support and to be able to provide what the students really need at the end of the day. And so that's the piece that really we need to hold on to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're out of order, so I got to go to what was next. So,
Mr. Scruggs.
Mr. Scruggs, yep.
Oh, there we go. Yep, number 7, approval of textbook materials.
All right. Good evening, esteemed board members. I know when I was here in August to present on instructional materials, Ms. Branning asked me no more for the year, but I made it 2 months, and I bring 11 new textbooks to share with you this evening. To keep it short and sweet, the process, the state identifies areas, the prioritized list of funding for new textbooks, they select the areas, it's not self-selected. Once we learn about these, the whole state is notified. Parents are given the opportunity to provide feedback. So the process is one where when they're selecting the text from which the school district will pick, parents are allowed to have feedback, the schools are allowed to have feedback. That is the time for solicitation of feedback. Once everything passes through that section, then we make a selection, but the feedback is done because we have basically signed off on all of the texts that are up for adoption being acceptable texts. So again, adoption has a feedback time, it's just front-loaded. The state standards, what we're looking for in a textbook, we really want to make sure that it addresses the state standards, and because our teachers are the experts on this, we involve teachers in the process. We make sure that our teachers have a copy of the textbook if the vendor is so kind as to get it to us in a timely manner. They're able to thumb through it, they're able to compare it to the old textbook, they're able to make a determination as to how it's going to have readability, accessibility for the reader, as well as things such as being tied to what is directing a lot of our instructional practice, the profile of a South Carolina graduate. We want to make sure it is steeped in skills and knowledge that we want to equip our students with so that they're going to be successful in college and career later. And then interest and appeal. We get feedback on everything from the margin spaces, the prompting questions, the color layout. Sometimes the instructors even will show a sample copy to students if it's available, and they provide feedback on all these things. I did not share these documents with you in August, so I just figured I would increase your knowledge base as to what this looks like. We start with the document on the left, which is a rubric that every member of a committee, each teacher who's going to be on one of these selection panels, they go through and then they basically score the potential text 1 to 4 in terms of those things, those qualities I just mentioned to you, how it aligns to the state standards, how it presents in terms of an accessible, agreeable document. Once they do that, we bring the teachers together and then they come to consensus. And this rubric on the left helps us fill out the final document on the right where we say, these are all the texts we considered, and here's how we came to the understanding that this is the best textbook for this given course. And it really helps put this in an objective setting when you have numbers instead of just, I feel this is a little bit better, when I can demonstrably say, I had this as a 2.5. So we still haven't had the normal resume of textbook caravans where we would normally have the vendors give us the full shebang on all of the bells and whistles of the text. Right now they are still sending texts out to the individual schools. So we host our own event. We bring teachers in, allow them time. And this time, for these 11 texts that I'm going to show you in just a second, they were all STEAM or STEM oriented. They were CTE texts. So we brought in our CTE teachers, gave them half a day of collaboration, and allowed them to really go through this with a fine-tooth comb. Let's see. All right, so we have 10 texts, and they range 10 presented that are hard copy texts, and then one that is all digital. In each case, we select whatever is the most inclusive in terms of our resources, one that is a bundle if it's available, where you have a hard copy text as well as a digital resource, because we want to make sure we equip our kids with everything that we possibly can. So it ranged from everything from pharmacology to equine science. So we really had a wide gamut in our CTE selections. But tonight I bring before you animal science, agricultural science and technology, small animal care, equine science, pharmacology for medical careers, and then business law, marketing management, marketing, foods and nutrition 1 and 2, wildlife management, and introduction to veterinary science. And I have hard copies of these that are available in the lobby near the public participation forms if you so wish to peruse. But these are our 11 texts that our teachers have come to an agreement on. I've given you the shorthand calling it Cengage, but that's really National Geographic as a company. So National Geographic sponsors most of the selections you'll see. And the only one that is all electronic is the Pharmacology for Medical Careers. It is an e-dynamic holding. We had that when I brought to you in August our physical education textbook that made a little more sense to not be a hard copy textbook in a gym. They were the same company that we brought forth in August. So these are the 11 textbooks. I've shared with you the publishers and then the ultimate program title. I know it's kind of dry to see Wildlife Natural Resource Management 4th edition. I know that part doesn't tell you what editions 1, 2, and 3 had to offer, but this is the summation of our work that the teachers got together. They've said these are the texts that the South Carolina has said are acceptable, that the public has had time to review. And our teachers have said these are the best fit for our students. So I bring these 11 texts to you. So if you have any questions or comments or concerns, I'll be happy to address them at this time.
And these would be for next year's courses?
Actually, in reality, yes. We're going to order these as soon as you give us the green light, but we have ordered some things that have taken several months to come in. So the arrival I would not anticipate before Christmas break, winter break. So it's going to come in the new semester. It's going to take our teachers time to implement this, so they will probably work with it through the spring semester for full implementation in the fall or August of 2023.
Appreciate you sharing the process with us. A reminder.
Thank you, sir.
Questions?
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for the 11 textbooks as presented this evening, And if you want each one of them separately, I'll gladly do that. Thank you.
As presented is okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the 11 textbooks presented to us. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you may go order.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and now, Dr. Epps, you are up for a superintendent report.
Okay, great. Let's begin with calendar events. Of course, you have in front of you the school board meeting tonight. Monday, this Monday, we'll do a school board visits. We're beginning at Pleasant Knoll Elementary, right? Okay. Then go from there to Pleasant Knoll Middle, then Orchard Park Elementary, and finish up at Kingstown. We'll start at 11 a.m. at Pleasant Knoll Elementary. Tuesday, the election day, no school for students and teachers, and would encourage everybody to vote. Principals meeting the next day here at the district office, then with the school board meeting on November the 15th, which is 2 weeks after tonight, and then the Thanksgiving holiday there from Wednesday to Friday of the 23rd through the 25th of November. December, we do have our third 2-hour early release day on December the 2nd. That's a Friday. That's the release day for students, and then teachers will be in session for planning. Then the school board's conference, legislative advocacy conference, is the 2nd through the 4th of December. Then our final school board meeting of the before Christmas is December the 6th here at the district office. And then on the 21st, this is a full half day. This is a regular half day for students, the last day before we get out for the for the Christmas holiday, which is the 22nd through the 2nd of January.
Dr. Epps, I'd like to share that I've had several pieces of feedback on the 2-hour early release,
Okay.
and that it was, all the feedback I've gotten thus far was very positive, very appreciated.
Yep, very much so.
Same here. If you look at it, and Joe has run the numbers, it really doesn't impact the amount of instruction significantly because we already have more than the required minutes if you did it throughout the year. But the teachers, you're right, the feedback we've gotten, and we've gotten positive feedback from parents too. So, but the feedback we've gotten from teachers has been how helpful it was to sit down as a group and do their planning. So, good move so far, as far as I can tell. There may be other dates that you may have on there that I didn't.
I don't see anything
I don't
else.
know of anything.
I don't.
Okay, ready to move on? Y'all can, if one hits your mind, you can say it. The attendance update, we, hold on, let me find my little summary sheet here. Okay, we grew again, as we do each month. This time a gain of 29 students. So, but you look at that thing, if we gain 25, 29 each month over the course of the year, you're rolling in a significant number. But we went from 18,194 a month ago tonight to 18,223 since the October 3rd reporting. And you can see by schools where the growth was. School monthly teacher attendance winners, the winners for September. Monthly school attendance winners were Fort Mill High School with an attendance rate of 95.56. I believe that was Fort Mill High's second out of the 3 months so far. Yes, that's right. Then we have Gold Hill Middle attendance rate 94.27, and that was after 2 months of Fort Mill Middle winning. So Gold Hill Middle win. That Stump's out there. Yeah, that's because of Stump. They want to see him every day. And then finally, the district leader, River Trail Elementary, with an attendance rate of 95.56, and I believe that school has led all 3 months. Savannah's doing something to get them to come there.
Something special is right.
Questions about anything?
No, sir.
Nothing from me.
Any other updates?
I believe
All right.
we were going to talk about impact fees, but Leanne
She covered
Mordo
that.
did that, so
Okay.
we're good.
Well, we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations, legal issues, and contractual issues. So I would entertain a motion for executive session.
Motion to go into executive session?
Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we are now in executive session.